I am pumped to bring you this guest on the Conscious Creation in the Age of AI summer series on Unjaded. Say that 3 times fast with me. Holy cow. So today I am talking with Chelsea Brady. Chelsea is, along with being one of my favorite people in the business world, a 5/1 emotional manifesting generator. She has channels 1222 and 952 defined in her design. And I've never been more envious of a channel than I am of the 952 channel, which gives you focus. As a manifesting generator, it would often be really nice to have that 952 channel. I know that when Chelsea's using it, she often gets buried in her work, forgetting to eat, just powering through with all of the energy of a Mani-Gen, the powerful channel. Chelsea is one of the most creative people that I have ever met in my life. She is a musician and an artist and a graphic designer and a writer and many other things. You're going to love this conversation where Chelsea really peels back how she's using AI with her clients to help them to refine their voices and how she's using it in her own business, both working through her ideas as someone with an unconscious sun in gate 11 and using it to soundboard and to help with healing her voice. Chelsea's a graduate of the Content by Design program, so she drops a little bit of stuff in there too that you'll be able to pull from to use in your own content creation process. Here we go. So welcome in, Chelsea. I am beyond excited to get to chat with you today.
Thank you so much, Vickie. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. In true Mani-Gen fashion, we're often like, oh, nope, this isn't going to work. That's not going to work. I'm in the middle of this. I'm discovering something else. That's been a lot of what you and I have been talking about, is all of the AI tools that you are discovering, because you're a little bit of a nut about it, I think.
Yep. And I don't know that I necessarily meant to go down the AI rabbit hole, but well, I'm a 5/1 manifesting generator. And so that one in me also just continually follows the inspiration down. And I found just a lot of ways in my business, in my creative life, in my actual just, learning how to eat healthier life, all of that to use AI. So yeah, I'm excited to chat about it.
Yeah, for sure. I did some of that today, actually. I've never done that with health and eating and that sort of thing with AI. But this morning, there was a piece of research that I wanted to do actually on leptin and how it relates to hormone health and all of those things. So I'm like, oh, why don't I just use ChatGPT for this? And then I went a little bit further with okay, I'm really struggling to get this 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. How can you help me give me some meal ideas, because lunch is hard for me. I get working and working and working and I skip it, and then I'm so hungry at supper time. So it was interesting to me to use AI for that reason, because I've not done that before. I've just focused on my business, but you're using it in all kinds of ways.
Sure. So, well, it just in the health piece, one way that I've really enjoyed and gotten a lot of value out of it is I have one feed that I speak to it on, and I've told it these are all the supplements that I think I should be taking. Essentially, these are all the things that get pushed to me on Instagram. Should I be taking this? And I'll take pictures of the back of the packaging and say what is in here, and do I actually need this? How does this work with this other supplement that I'm taking? Or just is for my goals, for my health goals, is this actually, working? So I started there, and then it actually has kind of created a protocol for me each day. And because I am not very great at consistency, I'll say oh, I forgot to take that one thing. Should I take it now, or should I eat lunch first, or should I do this? And it is just I'm not calling it a nutritionist, or I'm not, I'm not leaning into it for that piece, but it's just really good at helping me track where I'm at, what I've done, and how am I getting closer or farther away from my goals by, doing this certain thing. It's nice because, I couldn't do that with a human being. Call up and be oh, I skipped breakfast this morning. Now what should I do?
Yes. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I am a nutritionist and I'm using it for some of these things. One of the other things that I used it today for was to source the best collagen in Canada and give me the reasons why it's the best. How does this one compare to this one? And I really went down the rabbit hole on that. And it was helpful for me because I could stand in the health food store and, let's face it, my eyesight with the tiny little labels on, or the tiny little writing on the labels, it would have taken me forever to do that in a health food store. And I live in a very small town. I would have been limited to just what my little local health food store has. But this way it was able to pull in and bring it down to 4 brands. And then as a nutritionist, I can say, okay, this is what I like about what you've brought up about this one. And so, yeah, it's not replacing people, but it is, in some cases, it's nice to have there when you don't have a person.
Exactly. I did the same with greens powder. So,
Yeah.
and it was great to know like, oh, this greens powder that costs, $85 a month or something, is really not worth it.
Hmm.
Um, because we get, the marketing side of things so much that we can be convinced that something is a magic fix. And then when we really dig in, it's not. And not being a nutritionist, I need a little extra help with that
Hmm.
sometimes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's not really what we're going to talk about today.
Nope.
But we just get off on tangents as always. So I remember when you came into CBD, one of the things that you said, it was like one of our very first calls, and you said something about, well, I spend 8 hours a day working with AI. And I was like, oh, like a knife to the heart, like, oh my God, how does somebody spend 8 hours a day with AI? So what the heck are you doing with AI that you get to use it so much?
We can talk about my transition into kind of a new career path
Mm,
later. For the last 20 years, I've been a graphic designer, brand strategist, and creative director. And so I'm using it a lot in like so many multifaceted ways. I would say that I'm just in pure management form, just bouncing back and forth, using it for different tasks. And it's not always ChatGPT. Like
mm.
it definitely started that way. I think I have had a ChatGPT account since week one of it
Wow.
launching. That's an interesting
Early
story,
adopter.
but I also use it to, I mean, I think when we think about AI or we say the word AI, especially in the marketing space or online space, we mostly are thinking about like creating marketing copy. And there's just so many more tools out there that are available for marketers as well. Even tools like Canva are now heavily AI generated
Hmm.
as well. So I would say one of the first things that I ever did was I helped my retainer client, who is a grief therapist. I helped her take her work and create an AI voice for her marketing.
Mm. Mm.
And I would say that was probably the most successful voice, custom GPT that I've created because she had so much content and she's a beautiful writer already. A lot of long form work. She also has a program where she trains people to do what she does. And so she has this manual that we were able to put in, and it knows her work and her voice and vision just beautifully. There's times that I write things purely with AI from this custom GPT that I've written, and she will give me feedback. I cried. I feel so seen.
Aw.
So that I would say was like kind of the kickoff piece of how I was really using it. I have another marketing client that is they're a label company, kind of a conglomerate of label companies, I would say. And so we have a lot of brand voices that are similar but different. All these different companies they have different audiences or different products, just a different vibe in their brand. And so I've created different custom GPTs for them. And a lot of that is like, it's a little bit easier because they're more of an entity than a human being. So
Mm.
I don't necessarily need their marketing copy to sound, eloquent and beautiful. It just needs to like say, labels are 50% off today. Buy
Mm.
now.
Hmm.
But with them, I've done some really, really cool stuff. I'm actually we're launching a new brand with them right now where I've created a lot of custom illustrations with them. I've created custom illustrations in ChatGPT. I've also created them in Midjourney and then like brought them into other tools and vectorized them. I won't throw out a bunch of graphic design terms, but where I can actually go in and edit them myself. Now, if I were doing that one, I will say I'm not an illustrator, I'm a graphic designer. So like I don't even necessarily have that ability to do those things on my own. I could, they wouldn't be amazing. But now I'm able to create these custom illustrations or custom characters for our marketing and like really infuse some awesome personality into those campaigns that just wouldn't happen before without AI. So and now I'm creating a whole new brand with them and, building with AI from the ground up instead of kind of tacking it onto an older brand. And that's really fun as well. So if I have an idea and I can get creative with AI around it, I'm going to use it.
Okay. And ideas. Gate 11, that's your conscious sun, right? Gate 11?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
My unconscious
sun. Okay. So yes, lots of conditioning there around that gate of ideas.
Yes.
So you have no shortage of ideas on how to use these platforms.
No, definitely not, I would say. I was thinking the other day about my 811, 11 with the profile one, right? That's where my one line comes in. One, there's a funny thing that my partner and I always say. It's just, I need to know. It comes from the Tom Petty song, I need to know.
Yeah.
But like, I need to know. If we have like an inquiry or a question or a, hey, who wrote that or who did that? I'm like, I need to know. And I need to know right now. I don't want to have to because if I write it down and go research it later or something, I'm not going to remember. I'm going to be off to, the 15 other things that have popped into my mind. So I love having ChatGPT in my pocket and especially being able to talk to it and just like start a conversation with it about any random idea that I have at any time. I do that a lot on my walks. You know how a lot of us creatives are like most get our best ideas in the shower or on a walk or I always think when I'm not sitting in front of my computer trying to get an idea is when most of my ideas come. And I love to just be out on my walks and turn on my voice chat and just start fleshing out an idea. I've created like full frameworks and offers while I'm out on my walk, just riffing back and forth with my GPT. It helps me like go 10 layers deeper into an idea that I just don't think that I would have been spending the time or necessarily have the time to go that deep if I didn't have someone reflecting back to me and helping me kind of excavate the questions or the queries that are bringing me deeper and deeper.
Okay, so I have so many follow-up questions. You maybe saw me writing down things. If you're watching the video, I was writing down things that came to my mind. So one of the things that I would love to unpack with you, oftentimes we hear about verbal processing and, oh, it's great because I'm a mental projector. It's great because I'm a manifestor, whatever, and I need to verbally process. But I would just love to remind people that there are other types. I think there's a verbal processing element in most of us. So I love hearing you say as a man, Jen, that you're going in there and verbally processing as well. And for me, I have the 4629. So it's a lot of the motion while I'm thinking, motion while I'm talking. That's how I have to have my body in motion to be able to access that. But you also said something about taking it deeper and taking it deeper and taking it deeper. And I know that you and I have similar concerns about some of the things with AI that we see entrepreneurs doing because it's like breaking our hearts because they're not taking it any deeper. So do you have suggestions for how to actually get people, so how people can actually take it those other levels with their ChatGPT or whatever AI they're using instead of just taking that first round with the M dashes and the you're not brokens, unlock, unleash, all of that stuff? How do they get deeper?
Well, I also want to say that I was using M dashes before ChatGPT came around.
Now they're ruined.
And now they're ruined. And I'm like, well, how else do I communicate these long run-on sentences of mine?
Exactly. Do I have to go back to commas and periods and proper punctuation?
Exactly. Oh. So I trust that all of this, like we're in the beginnings of a new technology, like all of that languaging and grammar will like get worked out eventually. And so like I feel like that's not something that I'm going to get too hung up on. It's like if I want to use an M dash, I will use an M dash.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I've really been trying to track my process for you here so that I can explain it a bit better to your audience. And it seems so fluid to me that it's a little bit hard to track.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I would say is I don't start from zero with ChatGPT, right? Like I really will sit down with my pen and my paper and I will write. Or like when I'm on a walk, I will riff to it for a few minutes about one thing I really love to do. And one thing I really love to do is to like blend concepts together and just for the fun of it, and see like where can we go from here? Like how does human design relate to tarot, or talking about somatics and human design. Most of it come back to human design in some way.
Yeah.
For me. Um, but I think that it's just about curiosity. Continue to be curious. And I think that if we are giving away our power, I'm sure that's been said a lot on this series. If we are giving away our power, like what is the point of being human if we're just pressing the easy button and giving our creativity to a machine, right? And what good is that doing the person on the other end of your marketing copy if it's not really coming from you? If you're not going to be serving them in the way that you're communicating to them from the get-go, it's really just not authentic or really an integrity, I would say, there. So that's why I would say it's the most important is to just the creative process is for you. It's for your soul. It's for your purpose in this lifetime on this planet. So like, why would you give that away, right? Or why would you like press the easy button there? So I think what I would say is I start either from a long voice note or from actually a page or so of handwritten ideas or notes. My journal is chicken scratch, so that's why
Same.
sometimes I really like to just speak it out. As someone that is very tangential, I can't ever say that word, in my thought process, I love to just capture my voice so that it can organize everything for me. And then I will go back and, ask like, what am I trying to say here? And it normally will capture that very well. I don't always know where I'm going. I rarely know where I'm going when I start something. I'll just continually use it as a reflection piece, right? We all know that it's mirroring us, but like it truly can reflect back to you. And so I think just asking it to ask you questions, have it ask you what you think deeper and deeper. We brought this up in CBD at one point, but actually telling it your stories and saying like, this thing happened to me today, tell it the story, and then say, I really want to be able to pull this piece out and teach on this. How can I do that most effectively? Or what 3 points should I be pulling out in this email or this blog post to really get this across? But I think like leading the story, that is something that AI is horrible because it doesn't have any stories. It doesn't live a life. So I think capturing your stories, capturing your life experience when you do, and then being able to, even if you're just capturing them for later and not doing something with it right now, I think being able to take the story, ask like, where am I like teaching lessons here, my teaching points here, and then being able to like dive deeper and deeper into that.
So from a practical standpoint, I'm sorry, but from a practical standpoint, how would someone manage that in let's say they're using ChatGPT, because the memory is going to fill up. I recently had the experience where I had to go back and delete a ton of stuff from the memory, but you want it to hold the stories. So is that where your custom GPT comes in, where you have one that's just stories, one that's voice? How do we organize this?
So I have a project actually of stories. So I feel like projects don't get enough like praise.
Yeah. I just started using them probably after talking to you a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mostly, and this is actually why I use ChatGPT over other tools most of the time, is because of projects. As someone that's been using ChatGPT from the beginning, I have thousands and thousands of chats, and most of them are not organized, I will say that. But once projects launched, and then I could find like, oh, I can actually keep things of a like manner in a project. I will keep them there. And so I just go in, and so I have a stories project. I have a personal human design project.
Mm.
I have a tarot project. I have, just kind of my different projects that I'm working on, or, different tools that I'm using. I'll go in there and I just create a new note and tell a new story, or capture a new idea that is similar in my human design or in tarot or whatnot that I'm working on. And then I don't really have to think about it again, because I know that it's captured. I know that as long as I label it well in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I will be able to find it again. And then also it is holding that space. So I'm not needing it to remember in the memory,
Okay.
because I have it captured there. And so it can go back into its history and read from there. It doesn't, like, your memory of your GPT is not holding everything that you've ever created in
Right.
there. It's actually being able to go back into your old chats and learn there too.
I loved something that you said. I love a lot of things that you say, but I love something that you said, and you said about using chat GPT and just kind of dialing it in with our content and our creativity, outsourcing our power, all the things we keep hearing on this series. And what you said was, what does that do for the person on the other end of your marketing? And I
Mm-hmm.
love that, because I feel like that's not, people aren't thinking about that. People aren't thinking about, how does this feel when someone reads this? How does someone else interpret when I've just called it in? That's bringing up something for you, I can tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, I am not the first person on this series, or, anywhere to have said this, but I just stop listening when I
Hmm.
can tell that somebody has written it with
Hmm.
GPT. Like, I'm done. I like
Yeah.
truly will swipe away the second that I get that hit. And I'm a heavy user of ChatGPT, right? So
Yeah.
how do I balance that? Like, I do give grace to that. I do think that we should use it as a tool, but if it is like, we can tell like when you've actually worked with something, sure, maybe there's one M dash or, something. But when I can tell that it just truly doesn't have any soul behind it, I'm
Hmm.
just not interested. And I have seen some really big names out there, just like they jumped on the AI bandwagon, started writing all of their copy. And I'm like, I used to love your copy.
Yeah.
It
Same.
was beautiful. I
Hmm.
felt so pulled in, and you're one of my favorite, leaders, because of the way that they used to communicate. And then they switched it, and I'm like, I'll never buy anything from you
Yeah.
ever again, because if you are writing your all of your copy with ChatGPT, how do I know what's inside of your program? How do I know
Yeah.
what your program feels like? How do I feel the transformation that I'm going to have in your program when you're not in your marketing copy
Hmm.
as well?
And that's an excellent, excellent thing, because I'm getting ready to, we're in the pre-launch now for CBD, for the next round of CBD. And so I've been doing a lot around like, what other things do I need to add? How do I need to deepen my message? Not with ChatGPT, just me and me. What do I need to deepen here to get people to really feel like they're going to feel in the room with me? Because I feel like every launch, it pulls a little bit more of that feeling into my marketing, and that's really important, because you do not want people coming into your world and having being with you in the room feel completely different than it did when you were on your Instagram stories during your launch, or when you were writing your emails, or when you were on a YouTube video or delivering your masterclass. You have to feel the same so that they understand how it's going to, like, it can't be a bait and switch. You can't be
Right.
one person in your marketing. Like, it's you everywhere. But I feel like that's a huge thing that's missing. And a lot of these bigger brands that are now on the AI bandwagon, I'm getting fired up and talking with my hands, on the AI bandwagon. And a lot of them now, they've switched their programming to selling AI, selling how to, it's like, oh my God, I loved when you taught people how to actually communicate or how to actually heal. But
Yeah.
now, like, yeah, it's discouraging.
I have one human design coach that I really adore that created a custom GPT that like has her coaching
Hmm.
flair that I actually think is effective. I have to say, I've not seen anything else out there that I think is effective in the just clone yourself and sell your custom GPT, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, why would you want to do that? Like, I feel like you're giving this cheapened version of yourself away to your audience. And why are they going to want to go work with you one-on-one now? Or,
Yeah.
why do they want to be in your group program?
And why do they want to use your GPT to create their content? Like something you and I have been talking about a lot for CBD is actually teaching people with the Content by Design curriculum how to actually program their own GPT for their own. Like, you don't need to be buying someone else's $3,000 program or $1,500 program to use their AI. Like, to me, it just breaks my brain. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then so many people just sound the same. You turn on Instagram, it's like, oh my God, I don't even want to be here anymore.
Yeah, I remember messaging you one day and saying, I just don't want to open Instagram at all anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it is, yeah. And I feel like we are in this moment of like, it's just kind of messy and clunky, and we're kind of newborns in all of this, and it's not great. I do trust that it will get better. I also trust that like AI is evolving so quickly that like what we're talking about today is in 3 months not really going to be relevant. So like I like to have faith in the human race. I really do.
How's that working for you?
I know. I try. I try really hard. I trust that we will continue to find our way. I was just watching a video before we jumped on today of a spiritual teacher. She's a speaker, and she was like rebelling hard against AI and was like, I'm never using it again because it is not the Holy Spirit, or it's not something, And I'm like, no kidding.
Stop expecting it to be. Yeah,
exactly. I think that we are forgetting, like we're expecting it to be this like sentient conscious being and speak to us in that way, or like not make mistakes, or only do things in a human way, but it's not human, right? Like we know that. And then we're like we're getting upset for it not be human, and then we're like throwing our hands up in the air and saying this will never be human, and like making it bad for that as well. And what I really want to say is like, this is a tool that human beings have created. How about we turn our eyes to the human beings that are using the tools in ways that don't feel good to us, and figure out how to utilize these things in the ways that actually do feel like uplifting and, empowering to humans, instead of just like blaming it on the tool and not taking any responsibility for what we're co-creating with it. I don't know. I think that all of this is just like inquiry, right? Of like inquiry of how do we want to be human beings going forward with or without these tools? Like if you're a lazy creator to like begin with, your AI is not going to make it any better for you.
Yeah. So I want to come back to the custom GPTs, but first I want to talk about your creativity, because so in the round that you did of CBD, now this may be changing for the next one because it's scaling fast, but you had Google Doc access to me. So you were sending in Google Docs with the most beautiful poetic writing. And I know you've shared some other creative projects that you've worked on using AI and a lot of Chelsea. So how, as an artist, do you find that line of using it to maybe enhance or to make it faster? I know one of the projects you were working on, you said, Vickie, that would have taken me hundreds of hours, and I just did it in X number of hours. Where does that, I'm not even asking a true question here, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down about the artist piece with the AI.
Okay, so I'll say that I'm like very much a multifaceted artist. So I'm a writer, I'm a designer, I'm a three-dimensional artist, I'm a collage digital artist, all these things. So I'm
musician.
using the tools and a musician. Yeah. I call myself a singer. I've taken a lot of guitar and ukulele lessons, and do I remember any of it? We shall see. So I'm using a lot of different tools for these different facets of creativity. For writing, I would say it really is going back to that, just like starting with, like the brain dump thing, the same thing that I would do anywhere, or this just like, kind of nagging feeling or nagging idea or something that I need to like get out onto paper or out into the world, where I'm just like starting with inquiry and drilling down and drilling down. I really am enjoying being able to speak my ideas first because I can be a little bit more, I don't know, rambling and also more easily poetic. And I'm not editing myself as I'm just stream of consciousness speaking. Whereas if I start a piece of writing, I'm normally like tempted to go in and kind of edit or scratch out or use my favorite erasable pen and, edit too soon in the process.
Mm.
So I love just voice capturing and then asking for my ideas to be sorted through so I can kind of see what's there, what isn't, where the holes are, and be able to, kind of fill in the blanks from there. And then like in the refinement stage, I would say really where my line one comes in, I will stay with a piece for 4 hours if I, need to just be like refining and refining. Or I love that I don't have to use the thesaurus as much as I used to in writing. It's so like great to just have the tool kind of built in, just to be able to ask like, what's another word for this? It's so much faster than, pulling up all these other tools online. So I would say with writing, it's just iterative and I'm just drilling down and drilling down. And yeah, I'm never really quite sure what's going to come out on the other side, I would say.
Well, 22.
Yeah. I will say though that I had not been writing like that until CBD. When I came into CBD, I will come back to other creativity, but let me let me share about my voice from CBD. I truly had lost my voice. Being a designer and marketer for other people for the last 20 years, like I have to shapeshift so much. And I also am like pouring my heart and soul into building other people's businesses every day of my life. That is not to say that I'm not really proud of some of the things that I've done and the transformations that I've helped create for people, but also it really left me feeling kind of empty in my own creative work and not really knowing like what is my voice. Like I can tell you all of my clients' voices. I help them pull, I help pull that out of them. But like, who is Chelsea and what do I actually have to say? And what do I truly care about in this world enough to like build a whole new business around it? And you and everyone else that's been on my CBD journey with me will know that that changes a lot. It is, I've truly just used the space that CBD has allowed me to experiment and to play. And like, I'm sure that if I go back into my Google Docs that I've sent you that, I've got so many different offers, or I'm like, Vickie, I figured it out this week. And pivot. The next week something different. Yeah, pivot. But in the end, I really just used it as this refinement to dig in deep to myself and understand myself and to find confidence in myself again. And I'm really practicing believing that I have something important to say. It can, I'm an emotional manifesting generator as well. So I'm like always on the ride, the wave. And so that's an interesting facet as well. But like, I feel like a different woman from the beginning of CBD to now. Like, and it's because I have had that space to explore my ideas and to refine my ideas. Like the way in which I use AI is mostly because I've learned how to edit and how to think critically about what I'm trying to say, how to express myself so that somebody else on the other end of my writing is really going to be hooked by it or feel what I'm saying, right? I've learned a lot of those tools in CBD. And so I'm able to tell those tools to my AI and say, like, I want you to keep an eye out for this, right? Or I'm speaking to third lines. Am I doing that here? What am I missing? Things like that. So I've actually been able to take what I've learned in CBD and use that in my editing process with AI.
I think too, as a fifth line, not me, fifth line, you, fifth line, the conditioning of fifth lines on their voices is heartbreaking. And I don't think there's a single fifth line who comes through CBD that isn't changed on the other side, because I think a lot of it is that you're seen, not just by me, but by the other group members as well. It's like somebody's finally seeing you rather than just seeing this mirage or whatever that is for fifth lines. You would want to say
For what
something.
I can do for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Oh.
I feel seen for who I am and not for how I can fix
Mm,
something for
mm,
someone, which has been an interesting ride as well of like, but I still am trying to figure out how can what am I offering, right? But like really staying true to
mhm.
myself and not just offering it because I know someone needs it or wants it. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that's necessarily my work. And so CBD has really helped me figure that out too and like be a good reflection of, okay, you could do this thing. Is this actually your work to do?
I feel like as Manny Gens, that's a question that we need to ask ourselves so many times in life. It's that whole just because I can doesn't mean I should. Because we could go out and start 6 businesses at once and they would be successful. But it's like, is that really my work? Such an important question. Yeah. I don't know Chelsea's entire recent pivot, but I am going to tell you that if you're listening in and you want to see a little bit of her work, which she may not be doing anymore, but a little bit of her work, she just recently redid my website. And it is like you said to me when I hired you, you said, I'm going to knock your socks off, Vickie. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like I've had lots of websites. I love you, Chelsea, but I mean, it's a website. You knocked my socks off. Like it is not only is it beautiful, but like you did the thing where you captured me. You captured all of me. You have all of these moving parts in it and it functions. Like I had a website for the last 3 years that, oh my God, like just continually malfunctioning and not keeping up to date with me. I mean, I move fast as a Manny Gen and I'm changing things in my business and in my website. And it's so beautiful. And to me, it finally reflects who I am, like other websites in the past haven't. So thank you for that. And if you want to check it out and check out Chelsea's work, that's one of the websites. And on her own website, she has some of these other brands she's talked about. I want to go back to the custom GPT thing, and I'm just checking my notes here that I wrote while you were talking. So you said we're talking about the grief counselor, and
Mhm.
you said that you put her voice into a custom GPT, and you were talking about how she trains others so that they can access that. What level of fear does an entrepreneur like that? Because I think a lot of us have this fear of, well, if people can go to my GPT, like why would they ever hire me? So
Sure.
help.
So in this case, she is not creating a GPT for her community. This is simply for her own business purposes, for her
Okay.
own writing
Okay.
purposes.
Which we all
Yeah.
need to have,
Yes.
really, for
Yeah.
our voice, for our GPT. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm saying with her is that she has a teacher training where she has an actual teacher training manual that essentially teaches her entire framework, right?
Okay.
And so I was able to not only give it blog posts and emails that she's written, I was able to give it this manual so it very much understands all of her core curriculum and how she teaches and what she teaches and who her audience is from that. And so it was just like a banger. Like it, it does an excellent job. I know that like not everyone creating a custom GPT for themselves has that amount of work captured, but I would say like as a brand strategist and brand creator, I've always helped people create these brand guides for themselves,
Hmm.
right? And like, you don't need to hire a brand strategist to be able to do that. There's lots of templates. Go find one on Etsy or something, or just have ChatGPT walk you through capturing your brand strategy, right? And get that down into a document. Mine is now like, geez, I don't even know, probably 50 pages long or something, my brand
Nice.
strategy. And then take that and your writings, any copy that you have that you love, don't give it copy you don't love,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things that you feel really proud of and connect to your audience, and then go in and create a GPT out of that. I also will just create a project out of that now so that I can keep all of my documents together,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's also learning. So with just a standard custom GPT, it's not learning new information unless you're updating the GPT all the time. But with a project, it is because, you're tagging on these new documents inside of your project and it can reference all of those in a kind of more linear way. So instead of creating there's still reasons to create just a solo GPT, I would say, but for my actual writing and my brand copy, I'm going to create a project out of that instead.
So really, the whole point of this is that you need to keep adding to it things that you have actually, the base of it is all of the stuff that you have done. Your work, your body of work has to fuel your GPTs, your projects, your whatever it is that you're using. But it has to start with you, and it has to be ever evolving. You keep adding more as you go along.
Yes. And you could be, if you have a podcast, you could be taking the transcripts of your podcast and adding it in. Like that is actually how you speak.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I'm like, okay, Vickie, note to self.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could be taking your transcripts and creating a project out of that. You could create a project. I personally, just for keeping things, a little bit more organized, I would create a project of my voice and writings for my email copy. And for if I want to be like brainstorming podcast ideas or scripts or, whatever, I would do those in two different ways, just because in 5 years, you'll have thousands of pages in there. It's easier to keep things organized. You could do the same thing with social media. I do think that having a separate social media project is really useful because we write in a different way, or we create in a different way for social than we do for anything.
Well, and I think the end user is different. It might be the same person, but we're consuming it differently when we're scrolling Instagram versus when we're reading our emails.
Yes, exactly. So you can fine tune those things in the custom instructions a little bit more if you keep the projects separate.
Okay, so back to your grief counselor. I will not let this die.
Okay.
What would you say to people? Okay, I went to, I think it was at Podfest, and there was a panel discussion. It was an author panel discussion. I've talked about this on the series before. And there were authors on the stage telling people not to buy books, to just go to ChatGPT and ask for the summary of this book, based on me, based on what you know about my business, what would you glean from that book so that I don't have to read it? And I'm like, my soul is dying sitting in this chair right now. I had to like basically sit on my hand so I wouldn't like jump up and flail around. But there is that fear that if we put our greatest work in like her manual, you put it through ChatGPT, then what's to stop Joe Blow down the road from coming in and saying, I want the work of so-and-so therapist, and how would I apply it to my life?
Sure. So there are settings so that ChatGPT cannot use your work, right? So that it's not actually learning outside of your account. It's not using your work. So I would say yes.
And do we trust that?
Well, do we trust any tech bros in the world?
Exactly.
I would say that's just a personal decision that you have to make on your own. I know that for my client, like we had that discussion, and it is worth it for her to have that tool for herself. She puts out a lot of marketing and a lot of copy and content, and she is a beautiful writer and writes the vast majority of it herself. But there is just like sometimes we're in a launch and we have to create a lot of content. And it's so helpful for me to be able to use that and still sound like her and not sound like me.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've put your whole voice and you've got your brand guide and you've got all of that stuff in your ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using, then that's one of the best gifts of it, is that you can have some of your team go along. Like my Pinterest girl solely uses my brand guide, my brand voice, all that stuff in ChatGPT to write my Pinterest, because I don't care that much about my Pinterest captions. They don't need to be coming from my soul. But I'll bet if your grief counselor is writing a blog post that's from her soul, she's not outsourcing it to you, to ChatGPT, to someone else.
Yeah. So I will say, so she writes all of the like long form email, and she writes every blog completely by herself. She writes all of the, we just call them connection pieces, where she's actually like really serving her audience. She writes all of those herself, but then sends them to me, and I just put them into chat and say like, format this in an easier to read way. She is the queen of like, 8 sentences in a paragraph in an email. And I'm like, no one is reading this.
Yeah.
Like it's it's beautiful. And it's just like, she truly is pouring her soul into this work. And I'm like, we have to format this.
Clean
And
it
I've
up.
worked
Yeah.
with her for 3 years and still haven't been able to teach her to do that. So I'll go in and do that. And, but I'll also say, don't change,
Mm-hmm.
don't change her actual words. Don't
Yeah.
change what she's saying. Just break it into more digestible sections and paragraphs, because otherwise it will. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you ruined it. No.
But that's important. I've had to do that too with mine and say, keep my words the same.
Yeah.
But it's a great tool for polishing at the end when you send out an email, when you go to post the blog, whatever. But that is a good distinction, to keep my words the same, but just polish it. Or sometimes I'll say, how would you polish this? And then it will send me like a couple of sentences that are the way I speak. And it's like, okay, yeah, that doesn't really read as well as it could.
It helps me with my run-on sentences, things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
M dash,
um,
M dash.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's helpful. And then for her launch emails that are like more of her sales emails of like doors are closing,
Mm-hmm.
all of
Yeah.
that. I write those emails with my, marketer's hat on. I write those emails for her, mostly just using that chat or the custom GPT. And that flow works really well for us. And like, still, it feels, it's very important to her that she is in integrity with everything that she puts out to her community.
Yeah.
And I think it's worked out really well. Then I'll do the same with her web copy as well. I wrote most of her web copy actually. Like, I took her old website and rebuilt her a new website years ago now. And this is actually when I created that GPT, I believe. I took her writing and then kind of sculpted what she had already had on her site. But I knew it could just be so much better. And I took her writings and then prompted chat to like help me create the homepage, help me create the about page, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she sells retreats, and so I will, if there's a new retreat, I'll go in and kind of use it to create the sales pages for that, because it's not, that's more like technical information of like,
Yeah.
this is what we're offering. She'll kind of give me a one pager about what it's all about, and then I'll kind of run with it from there.
And again, the foundation is her content. Like, she has to have that content. She has to know her voice. She has to know what she's putting out in the world, how she wants people to feel, all of those things. Yeah. So that's the base of it. So if somebody doesn't have a team, I mean, she's lucky she has a team that can do this, but someone could be using their chat GPT and training it to write that type of a the sale is ending, the doors are closing type of email, and bouncing through, as long as they're using their voice for some of the stuff that's going in there, adding their human design, their astrology, all of the things.
Yes. After they take CBD and learn how to do all this.
Yeah. It's very important to learn how to do these things. Yeah. Yeah. I'm biased, but yes, you can see it. I mean, we can all see it. Oopsie. We can all see it when we look on online anywhere. We can tell, and it doesn't feel great on the other end of it. Whereas if you learn your voice and where it comes from and who needs to hear it and the experiences that you need to share, then you always have that. You can apply it to writing a book, to writing a blog, to writing an email. It doesn't matter. It's always there. And if on the first day of Mercury retrograde the next time, like happened this time, your Starlink goes down all across the nation.
The world. Yeah.
I thought it was just me. I was at the cottage. I thought it was just me. But thank God I knew that I could do things on my own.
Actually, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, where are you at now with your business? What's going on in your business? I know you've been doing some exciting trainings. What's happening?
Yeah, I would say I kind of gave myself this time it's probably going on 8 months or so now, to really just pause and be with myself. CBD was a huge piece of that. That was kind of the beginning of that. Did some other human design trainings and Akashic Records reading trainings. And I've just been living my like full Manny-Gen life of like dabbling and learning new things. My 5-1 Manny-Gen life, I would say. And it's been really beautiful and hard. But what I'm really coming down to now is like that I want to be here for people that are in moments of transition, like I have gone through as well, where our identity, like our creative identities are really shifting, and we can feel very lost in the world, and that it can be hard to find our footing and our ground. and like what comes next and how do we even begin to find that. So I call myself a creative wayfinder, and that just it continually seems to fit so well. But more specifically, I'm a human design reader and guide. I'm an Akashic Records reader. I'm an artist, an intuitive writer. I'm actually claiming that I am a writer now, which feels exciting,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
A
exciting
beautiful
and
writer.
freeing, really. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I help creatives who are in these moments of identity shifts really will one use their human design as a map, but also use body-led tools to create these soul-fed lives and work that is all connected into their innate design. What I love about human design, well, one, as a strategist, I love that there is a map,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I, I love that. As a strategist and designer, I love that there's this visual map that I can always be referencing back to as well. But then bringing in this more like soul elements of the Akashic records, your Akashic records, and like, okay, so I have this map. I see that like this is how my soul decided to incarnate in this lifetime, like how I'm here to creatively express myself in this lifetime or what I'm here to create. But I love that the Akashic records helps you decide or decipher the why, like the greater why, and that we can really use your records to kind of more of that excavation piece, right? Of like the always digging deeper and deeper of like, so I have the conscious sun 22, the gate of grace. When I first learned that, I was like, oh, emotions.
And I'm
Like,
so jealous of that gate in people. I just love it so much.
but I'm learning so much now of like it's this like uncovering and like
Mm.
really taking the full journey with yourself of understanding your design and not just as this tool to manifest $100,000 or whatever, but to truly get to know yourself and to get to birth and create this identity that you want to have in the world, right? Like to become the person that you really want to be and need to be in order to create the impact that you want to create in the world. Yeah. So that's, I would say, kind of my mission from these days out. And it feels good. And there's still, some really beautiful pieces of brand identity that I'm pulling in from my past work. And, I keep saying that I don't want to help with business building anymore. But like, I think that when we're living from our like true, authentic, creative selves, it's all one thing.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Definitely.
Some, someone like a coach, I think maybe I shared this with you before, but a coach a few weeks ago asked like, what are emotions that I'm feeling that don't have to do with my business or something? It was some kind of question like that. And I was like, that question does not compute.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
I am the same human being inside and outside of my business, but
Mm-hmm.
also like I know that I can't serve from the most impactful place if I'm not feeling rooted in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that I need to like figure out who I am or even necessarily have the most perfect words to be able to say that, but I need to feel like I have that guidepost. And that's what human design has really given me
Mm-hmm.
is the guidepost to know if this is something that's like right for me or not, and how I know that and why that is important as well. And just to really tie that back into AI, like that is probably the largest way that I use AI is just as a reflective sounding board for like, I'm going through this today. I want to unpack that with you. I've seen so many people say, don't use ChatGPT as your therapist. And I'm like, sure, it's not a therapist, but like it's a really good listener,
Mm-hmm.
And like I think sometimes we just don't have people that will listen that like have the capacity necessarily to listen to us all day long
Yes.
with our ideas. And so I think it's a really beautiful way to get your ideas out. I certainly feel like I have been, expanded infinitely by being able to express myself to my AI and have it reflect back to me. I say that I feel like a different person from the beginning of CBD, and I do. And I feel like an entirely different person than I was before ChatGPT was around, which I
Mm.
might sound a little dramatic or whatnot, but it just is It's very true. To have whatever tool or person essentially you want in your back pocket at all times is pretty spectacular. You just have to like learn how to use it well.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it is the uncovering of the voice, the freeing of the voice, which you've probably done from the beginning of using your chat. And actually, because you said like there's not a lot of us that have people in our lives who can handle. And I know for you, probably a very conditioned emotional authority, as I am a very conditioned emotional authority. There wasn't ever space for our emotions. We were never taught to explore. You have the 1222, like such depth of emotion there. So that probably has been a lot of the freeing that you're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. And room to just like be messy. You know, nobody gets to see inside of my chat. You know, I'm not verbal processing with someone else and like holding them hostage in a room for 3 hours while I just, chat about it. Also, I think that we don't all have, endless budgets to hire a coach and a therapist for, as much time as we want either. So I don't know, just another piece where I feel like there's voices out there that are like demonizing AI. And I'm like, or calling it evil. And I'm like, it's only evil if you like let it be evil, like talk to it with loving kindness and it will talk to you with loving kindness right back. Yeah, I think that it's a really beautiful tool for like personal evolution if you let it be. And it's a really like lame copywriter if you give it crap to copyright with.
Yeah, 100%.
It's all of the above.
Okay, so I have 2 more quick questions for you. One is, do you have any remaining fears, or did you even ever have fear around the use of AI or around Terminator vibes, The Matrix, any of that stuff?
Yes, kind of all of the above, I would say. Okay, one, just going back to, I think at this point in time, at least, AI is what human beings create of it. So like we are responsible for being the shepherds of this new tool, and we need to take that responsibility, not just like demonize AI and then throw our hands up in the air and think that we can't do anything about it. There's that. I love like sci-fi movies and space movies. So like I have seen a lot of different ways that this could go right or wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. The ways in which I am using AI, I would say, are really additive to my life. Do I have control over how the tech bros are building this and the guardrails or that they are not putting on it? As much as like any of us as citizens of a nation have the ability to, speak our minds, sure. But other than that, we're kind of on that ride already. But I, as someone that's like really excited to be alive at this point on the human timeline, I'm more excited than afraid, I would say. And I think like still just being conscious about how we use it. But that's the same with anything in life too, I think.
Very true. Yeah.
I think social media is probably way worse for human beings than AI. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And look how we've embraced that and let it run amok with our lives.
Yeah. And the same people are building.
Maybe another series.
Another series.
Yeah. Okay. So then the other question is, where can people find you?
Sure. So I have my website. It's therisingcreative.com. And you can find me on Instagram at therisingcreative. Or if you want to just be in my wild Chelsea creative world, you can find me on Instagram at I am Chels Bells. And that's just kind of the more creative, playful side of me too.
Okay. And I'll link all that up in the show notes for people. So thank you very much for being here for this candid conversation. I appreciate you, Chelsea.
I appreciate you too, Vickie, so very much. I hope you know that.